Yo guys, what is up? Master Diablo for video, and today we are talking about what I believe to be one of the best item farms in the game right now for Season 1. Now, the reason this farm is so good is because it is dropping guaranteed level 800 items. And it doesn't matter if the item is ancestral, or it's blue, or it's sacred, you get guaranteed 800 item power items. Every single item that'll drop is 800 item power. Now, obviously, that is great. Because the higher the item power, the better the stat rolls will be, and the more damage you'll get from your weapon. I have been farming for perfect gear. I've already gotten this perfect pair of pants with damage reduction while injured, total armor while in werebear form, damage reduction from enemies that are poisoned, and damage reduction while fortified at an 800 item power. This is a huge spike for survivability for me, so I want to go over this farm because there's a ton of steps to actually be able to do it. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you find it informative. Let's get right into it. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to throw this bonus tidbit of information out there because this helped me a ton level up my character this season. If you are transitioning from World Tier 3 into World Tier 4 and having a difficult time, I personally had difficulties. I've had a lot of people come to my stream and said, yo, I just got to World Tier 4. I'm only level 58 and everything is just killing me and I can't get gear. Like, what do you suggest I do? And this is exactly what I did because I was having those exact same issues. I was way under leveled, didn't have the defenses. I actually came to Nevesk, where this waypoint is. It is right underneath Kiovashad. If you walk over to the Forsaken Mine, that is a cellar. It's in between these kind of like two lungs, the Forsaken Mine here. Cellars are a bit like mini dungeons. They're going to have high level enemies, but they don't have modifiers. They're really easy to kill. There's events here, and I was getting items that were above level 780 item power just killing these super weak enemies on World Tier 4 in a dungeon. Obviously, I'm like super powered and leveled now, so like they wouldn't be a challenge. But you can find events here, and that is where I started to get my very first like high item power level to lead me into being able to farm nightmare dungeons, which are a great farm to get geared. And now I want to talk about you once you're relatively geared, what is the best farm for endgame items. So there's actually quite a few steps that you need to do in order to get to the point where you can kill or fight this uber boss, the Tormented Invoker of Varshan. And those quest steps are going to be showing on screen while I talk over some gameplay. So to start us off, you're going to need to complete your seasonal quest line. In that seasonal quest line, you're going to kill Varshan. Once you kill Varshan, you're going to receive an Invoker of Varshan as an item. This is going to be on World Tier 1 or 2. You're going to use this Invoker to invoke the Echo of Varshan and kill it. Now, in order to use this Invoker, you're going to need to find this like Varshan event. Think of this like fighting Varshan as kind of the same way that you would find a like event in a dungeon. Now, sometimes you're not going to find it. However, if you go to the Ravening Pit on the map, this Ravening Pit is currently in Kyrgyzstan. Or it's like in between Kyrgyzstan and Dry Steppes. I'm showing it on the map right now. Looks like it's just to the left of the ruins of Karar Yisu. This Ravening Pit will always have an Echo of Varshan event. So this is the most consistent place to go to farm it. Once you beat this Malignant Tunnel, you can just simply exit out of it and then hit the Reset Dungeon button, which will allow you to reset it. I'm currently sitting in the dungeon, so I can't reset it. But you're going to reset the dungeon, and then you can just run it again. So once you use the Invoker of Varshan to kill the Echo of Varshan, that is going to be on World Tier 1 or 2. You're going to get a recipe for the Foul Invoker of Varshan. Now, all of these terms are just like representative of what World Tier it is on. So Invoker of Varshan is World Tier 1 or 2. The Foul Invoker means that you need to use this in World Tier 3. So you're going to repeat the same steps. You're going to craft the Foul Invoker, go to the Ravening Pit on World Tier 3, complete the dungeon, and then go over to the doors where you're going to summon the Foul Invoker of Varshan, or use the Foul Invoker of Varshan to invoke this Echo, kill it, and then you're going to get the recipe for the Tormented Invoker. Tormented translates to World Tier 4. You're going to go to World Tier 4 and then go to the same dungeon, summon Varshan, and kill it. And once you've done that, you've kind of completed it. And now you can craft a ton of Tormented Invokers and keep spamming this dungeon. You can do it with friends, all crafting Tormented Invokers. You can do it solo, just resetting the dungeon. The only requirement, once you've done the prior quest steps, is that you do need to craft a Tormented Invoker of Varshan each time you want to do this. Now, in order to craft a Tormented Invoker of Varshan, you're going to need to have like dismantled a few hearts for crafting recipes, and you also need sigil dust. Sigil dust you get from breaking down nightmare dungeon sigils. So if you're going to be doing this, make sure that you're running your nightmare dungeons as well. And then if you get a bad nightmare dungeon with like less crit or less vulnerable or like primer resource drain, whatever doesn't work for your build, make sure you're constantly breaking those down, as you'll be able to build like 10 of these invokers at a time and do a bunch of runs all at once. And then what I've been doing as like my late game farm is I'm doing like a handful of nightmare dungeons, or I'll do like nightmare dungeons for an hour, and then I'll do like tormented invoker of varshan runs for like 30 minutes, and then back and forth. And you can kind of repeat going back and forth, breaking down your hearts and doing this, and getting a ton of really great items from this farm. Now, the reason this farm is so good is because you're going to get guaranteed 800 item power items, and those are really, really powerful. You're going to get more defense, you're going to get more damage from them. And originally, I was like, this farm, I'm getting a few ancestrals when I get the kill, and I'm getting a few sacred items. And if I do a nightmare dungeon, I'm getting a ton of ancestrals and sacreds. Surely this couldn't be better than just running nightmare dungeons. And the reason this farm is actually pretty dang good is because even if you get a sacred item, if it rolls well, it's still unbelievably usable. And what I mean by that is once an item enters into the 725 item power, it basically is rolling ancestral rolls. It is going to roll in the same stat ranges as a ancestral is. So even though this axe looks like a sacred item, it is basically giving me the same amount of damage as an ancestral item. As you can see, its max roll to damage to distant enemies is a 23.5%. And if we look at this ancestral mace, that's just slightly lower item power, it's got the same stat rolls. It's got the same crit damage rolls. It is this item, even though it says sacred, is basically the same amount of damage as an ancestral axe. And so you can get a bunch of gear, and even if it's not like perfect gear, you can still make things work. And so I thought that was really, really interesting. You're basically guaranteed to get good items from this, which is why it's such an efficient farm. Now, if you're farming for gold, if you're farming for resources, if you're farming for specific aspect rolls, if you're looking for pieces of gear that you haven't gotten yet, nightmare dungeons are still the best farm. You get tons of items, tons of resources, tons of aspect drops, tons of legendaries, and that is the best farm for that. But if you are looking for high item power rolls on gear for like rares and stuff to turn into perfect items for your build, I think this farm is really, really great. There's a few steps that you need to do, but getting guaranteed 800 item power items in all of your slots is such a massive survivability and damage boost that I just wanted to share this farm with you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you found it useful. I'll catch you on the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.